Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have my first Madden 26 video. I realize I have not recorded my franchise video yet, so this will be the first one that you guys will probably see. Now, unfortunately, with Madden 26, a lot of stuff has not really changed. These are some of my biggest issues so far, is just some of the problems I feel like Madden just hasn't really addressed all that much, to be 100% fair and honest about it. I can understand certain things being changed. I can understand the NFL has, the final say-so in a lot of discussions and a lot of, what they want to put in the game. And I completely understand that, right? There's a reason why concussions aren't in the game. There's a reason why helmets don't fly off anymore. There's a ton of stuff as to why certain stuff isn't in the game. But my biggest problem with this game right now is the fact that they decided to add stuff that I feel like is completely useless, completely unnecessary, but then they don't want to change stuff that would actually make sense or even revert to old systems in the game that made even more sense. If you guys do not know who I am, and this is the first time you guys are seeing me, before last year's Madden of Madden 25, the previous 4 years, whatever console I was on, I had the biggest off-season roster downloads on all 4 consoles. Well, on the console that I'm on. So, Madden 24 and 23, I was on PS5. Biggest off-season rosters. You guys can go download those games and check. I'm 90% sure I was the biggest one, if not top 2. Madden 22 and 21 on PS4, I had a very good sized roster. And even Madden 20, I think I had a very good sized roster. I'm pretty sure I was either number 1 or number 2 those 4 years. Madden 20 was probably a different story. I don't think I was quite up there. But coming from a person who I used to make rosters on my own. Now, I didn't do it to the extent that I'm doing it to now, right, where I'm getting contracts correct. I'm trying to get everything correct, right? It was mainly getting big free agency moves, notable free agency moves, as well as doing the first round of the draft, possibly the second round, and then all the Chicago Bears picks. So it wasn't quite as big as what it is now. But I used to do it just out of me wanting to play Madden, right? Before Madden 24, the most time I put into it was the roster and my franchise that I was doing for YouTube. And my offline one that I played a couple seasons on, right? I played I think 6 or 7 seasons over the course of probably a couple months. The problem I have with this game is that they do not take the roster creators seriously. Now, I will say, I can understand why you don't give us all the tools, right? No game wants to give you a completely 100% tools to create a good roster, because if you have a good game, people might not want to upgrade. But there's still going to be plenty of fucking people that want to upgrade, right? We're talking about the only NFL simulation football game. The only NFL game, for that matter. We're not just talking about, this isn't the days where 2 or 3 companies would make a football game. 2 or 3 companies would make So like I was saying, just like the fact that they don't want to give us the tools to make their game last even longer is kind of crazy. So we're just going to go over a couple things. So first issue, Download Center. I spoke about this last year. You still can't overwrite your uploads. I don't have any uploads right now. I tested it out earlier. You cannot overwrite your uploads, which means for draft class and rosters, whatever gets uploaded first is just going to stay at the top for a very long time, right? So like draft classes, this one that has 67,000 downloads, no shade to this guy. I haven't downloaded his draft class. I don't know what it's about. I don't know how good it is, equipment wise or player wise or just whatever. I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. If this gets enough downloads, this will not be overtaken for a very long time until a very, very good roster draft class comes out, and unless some big YouTuber shares it, right? I'm going to be 100% honest. That is kind of ridiculous, right? Because you're not allowed to overwrite your files. You're not allowed to make better ones. So even if this guy comes out with a much better draft class, whether it's fixing rankings or, positional value stuff, whatever, this one will be the one at the top of the list forever. Same thing with rosters, right? If somebody puts out a roster at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the offseason and doesn't update it, it will be near the top. That's kind of my first issue. I don't know why they changed it. Don't get me wrong. I like the layout a little bit more, and it definitely works better. I don't know if it had something to do with the share files getting broken for, I think it was like 2 or 3 straight years, where there'd be months at a time or even weeks at a time where you just couldn't upload anything or download anything. I don't know if that was the major change, if anything, as to do why you can't overwrite your former uploads. And don't get me wrong, I would understand if that's the reason why they can't have you do that anymore. But the fact that there's no transparency when this stuff happens is kind of annoying. So yeah, whatever gets uploaded first, whatever gets the most clicks right away, is going to be at the top of the list for a very long time. And like I said, no shade towards anybody that already has a roster or a draft class or something like that out. Like I said, no shade, nothing against you guys. It's more about the system and just how dumb it is. Another thing they didn't change this back. I don't know why. It's the fucking stupidest thing ever. Makes making rookies even harder. You cannot change the team whenever you're creating somebody. So let's say you want to go add somebody that isn't currently in the game for some reason, whether it's just rights or whatever, and you want to change teams, you have to back all the way out, okay? So discard that player. You have to back all the way out, and you have to go to your settings and change your favorite team to create a rookie or somebody else for a different team. So I'll just pick the Texans, for example. Okay, so you see the Texans, you go back to Creation Center, and now you will create a player for the Texans. I think this is the dumbest thing ever. I don't know why this is in here. I don't know why whoever made that change. I don't understand why. Just don't understand it. Another thing we can't change still this year is contract info. And then you still cannot change superstar. You cannot give creative players a dev trait, and you cannot change, I think, dev traits either. So we'll go over here. We'll just stick on the Texans. We'll go to Derek Stingley real quick just because he has an X factor. And you can also not change birthdays for real-life players. Now, I can understand this kind of because it would be affecting their, their likeness, I guess is what you would call it. I wouldn't call it NIL because that's something different. You still can't change abilities in this screen. You can change it in franchise, so that's the good news, but still, and of course you can change a lot of this stuff in franchise, which is the good news. But the fact that I would have to swap over to PC, play the game, and progress everybody manually is kind of annoying, which brings me into my next thing of not being able to have like scenario-like stuff that 2K has, where you're able to start up today or start it back up in the 2008 season or whatever. I don't give enough of a fuck about, oh, I want old classic rosters or whatever from different games. Don't get me wrong, that would be cool, but that's acquiring a lot of rights and a lot of players would be missing. Just go look at, of course, a game like 2K where you're only needing 13 guys really to fill out a roster, 15 if you're lucky, and most classic teams can get away with only having 10 or so players as long as you have a lot of the major guys. Even most of those teams aren't complete. So I can understand why we don't have classic teams, why we don't have classic rosters that we can grab just straight from EA. I totally can understand that because it would be a lot of money and it would be a lot of headaches to try to go get, all the guys from one season. So I can understand that. I can give them a little bit of a break on that. But not being able to upload like a scenario where you're like, oh, hey, I simped, the season's officially over. Anybody who wants to start from the draft, after the draft, because I went through and made sure every player was picked by the correct team and at the correct spot, that's kind of annoying, right? And starting from the off season where, after a bunch of players sign, people move into correct teams and then can upload the scenario themselves so that players can play with them and have an easy access to have not only the rookies but free agency moves, all that stuff. I don't know if that's something that they have in the works, they don't want to do, they don't want to copy off of 2K, whatever. I just think that's kind of bad as well. I think a lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about, it's just kind of like, why isn't this in the game yet? Why isn't this an option? Also, saving a roster from franchise on the console, I think that's dumb. If I don't remember exactly how many years we're given. I think it's like 40 or 50 or something like that. But let's say I'm in year 49 and I only got one season left to franchise and I want to restart, but I don't want to lose my players that I'm currently playing with. Let me save the roster. Like, who's that impacting? Nobody. I feel like that's not impacting anybody or changing anything super groundbreaking about franchise or really hurting you. I'm going to be spending more time on the game. You know what happens if I were to get to year like 49 of a franchise and I'm like, oh, I only got one season left. I'm going to give up all hope and I'm going to be like, well, I guess I'm done playing Madden for a little bit because I really don't feel like going through the necessary steps of creating another franchise that I care about right now. That's the biggest thing. So I just really don't like some of the changes that they've made this year. Another one for franchise, the fact that offline mode is still so slow. I think that's fucking terrible. I think just overall, the game doesn't feel as smooth as I think it should. I think there's a lot of decent changes. We're going to go to one right now. Where would it be? It would be at Coach Central. No, it would be in the weekly strategy. You would probably think, oh, hey, I need to go change out a certain ability, right? So let's say I have this game shield, right? Where I want to reduce wear and tear damage taken during games by 5%. You would think if I just click on it, I could pick another ability. No, you have to manually go over, unselect, and reselect something else. I think that's the dumbest shit possible. Who fucking didn't think of that? I'm so genuinely confused. I'm not even going to get into the fact that I like wear and tear. I'm going to be 100% honest. I like wear and tear. I like it a lot more than progressive fatigue. 100%. But I think wear and tear is not working properly and players showing up at positions they're not supposed to, as well as some depth charts just getting completely fucked. I don't know. I don't know if this has been a problem for anybody else, but for the sub linebacker group, I have to manually go in and change that every single game because it will just take the 3 best players and put them at sub linebacker. It does not stick with the depth chart 50% of the like 90% of the time for that position. Other positions, I sometimes have to manually go in and fix stuff. Also, when a player gets injured and you give me the option to press X to keep on field or to push square to substitute him out, and then I see him 3 plays later and he gets immediately injured, that's kind of bullshit. You need to do better, EA. This is happening in both college football and in fucking Madden. It is so ridiculously dumb. Like, if I'm telling you to take my right guard out because he just went off the field with injury, and you say he's going to be back in a little bit, and I push sub out, and he comes back in the game and gets injured, that is fucking horseshit. Why is that not working properly? That is the dumbest shit I have ever fucking seen. Don't get me started on the draft class glitch where the draft, you can go into your big board or you can go to select a player and it's transparent. So you just see the background with the team picks and you have to back out of the franchise and load back in to get it to work correctly. This game is just a complete and total mess. Some of the changes I have liked, some of the changes I haven't liked. Haven't played through a full season yet, but I have seen other clips from other creators and stuff like that. It's super annoying. One thing I will say is, of course, the reset glitch, as far as I know, is out of the game. I know there's a profile picture glitch going on right now, but that's only if you change their number and their ratings at the same time. As long as you only change 1 or 2 things, I think it is going okay. We can try this out on Derek Stingley right now. So if I change his position and his number real quick, and then if I change it again, it was normally happening after about 2 or 3 times. So we'll just continue to change stuff real quick and see if it resets him for whatever reason. Which a profile picture glitch is a lot better than what it was last year, where it was just resetting their entire fucking build, I guess you would call it, or their player model. So that seems to be out of the game, which is a very good news. I do like the positional changes as well, even though long snapper still doesn't make a whole ton of sense because there's I don't feel like there's any arbitrary stats unless I've missed something that can really determine a player's overall, as well as when you get into a game and gives you the correct overalls for each position. Most long snappers are still lower than tight ends. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how many times I've loaded into a game and the game just, when I go through the depth chart because I have to fix shit, all my tight ends are still a higher long snapper than a long snapper. Just not really worth it to keep a long snapper on the team. I don't know what positions you can sub the long snapper into, but it just doesn't make sense. You want to protect somebody, just go put them at long snapper for a year. If you don't want, or, whatever. I don't know. I don't know why you would protect a player. It's not that big of a deal. You should have enough spots anyway. Positional stuff in franchise is still broken. I've seen multiple people post that, teams are still carrying 4 or 5 quarterbacks into a regular season. Even though NFL rules dictate that you can't play more than 2 unless both of them go down, then if you have a third on the active roster, then they can come into the game. I've seen teams bring 2 or 3 two kickers, 2 punters, stuff like that. Just kind of dumb. Only bringing like 2 running backs into a game, a position that's heavily determined by wear and tear, and teams being out of a running back by the third quarter. Right, I played a game against the San Francisco 49ers, and Christian McCaffrey was out, and Kyle Juszczyk and Isaac Guerrero were their only 2 running backs in for the game. So there's just a lot of stuff that still needs fixed and tweaked about this game. That's just being 100% honest about that. I don't know. I don't think it's a very great step or improvement in any sense of the word. I really don't. Just being honest. Last and final thing I'll get into, this might be kind of controversial, but we're going to go into quick play real quick. Overalls need to be fixed. The lowest team, I think, is the Tennessee Titans at a 77 overall. Actually, this will be a better visual representation in franchise. I'm going to show you guys something. So, I've been trying to figure out what team I want to do for my franchise, for my YouTube franchise, if I'm doing one this year, if Madden's fun enough. So we'll just go into here. We'll just go roster default, because if you go week 1 preseason, it still has Christian Wilkins on the Raiders. It still has a couple other guys not signed, stuff like that. So we'll just load the roster in real quick, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about when I mean overalls. In Madden 26, it genuinely feels like there are no bad teams. Okay? Their overall went up compared to what we saw in play now. Their overall went up. 80 overall, 86, 83, 83, 82, 88, 80, 81, 79, 79, and just so on and so forth. The lowest team being a 79 overall in Madden 26 is downright disrespectful. Right? I understand the Raiders have some good players. They're not going to be a great team. Right? Panthers, I understand they have some good players. Derek Brown's good. J.C. Horn's good. Taylor Morton's okay. Chuba Hubbard, I think it's Damian Lewis, and so on and so forth. They have some good players. They are not a 79 overall. This is a problem in both 2K and in Madden. Overall need to be lowered. There should not be a group of 99s. Okay? I think there's there's a lot this year, right? So 1 over 99, 2 99, a 97, a 98 D tackle. Do they really have 3 fucking D tackles at over a 99? Jesus Christ. Myles Garrett, so that's 3, 4. They have 4 D tackles at a 99. Jesus Christ. No wonder why it feels like my offensive line can't pass block, because you're going up against a 99 like at least once a season, and you're going up against multiple 80 overalls a season. A 94, a 98, a 97, and a 98. Like, overalls have gotten so fucking ridiculous. It should not be this fucking bad, in my opinion. There should be bad teams. If you look at the Giants, they should not be a 79 overall. I understand their defensive line is very good. I understand they got a couple pieces here and there, like Malik Neighbors, Andrew Thomas, Bobby Okereke. I know their back end looks okay. Stuff like that. Well, at least young and exciting, I wouldn't say okay. But bad teams should be fucking bad. I shouldn't be looking through the teams being like, fuck, the Bears might have one of the worst fucking rosters. Should I rebuild them? No, I shouldn't, because I'm a Bears fan. I shouldn't be looking through teams that were bad last season or are going to be bad, or a lot of people are expecting to be bad this year, and being like, oh, they got a lot of good players. I don't really want to rebuild them. Like Cleveland Browns, interesting storyline with the quarterback situation. I don't want to rebuild them. They have Myles Garrett. I'm going to have an instant fucking top 10 defense. Their offensive line's insane, pretty good. You know, stuff like that. I shouldn't be looking at a team like the Colts, who have a lot of question marks, I understand they're in a weaker division. They should not be a team that I'm looking at being like, wow, they got some really good players. I don't know if I can pick them. Dolphins. They do not look like a strong competitor. Just being fair about that. Competitive team. They do not look like it. They should not be this high of an overall, and I shouldn't be going, wow, they got some really good talent. Same thing with the Jets. The Jets were fucking dog shit last year. With Aaron Rodgers. And now they're going to Justin Fields. They also don't have Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith this year. I shouldn't be looking at teams and being like, wow, they all feel the fucking same. You want to know why they all feel the fucking same? Because nobody's more than like a fucking 10-point overall difference. Like a team like the Chiefs and the Eagles should be in the 90s. And then a team like the Giants, the Jets, the Jags, the Raiders, the Saints, the Titans, they should be in the fucking low 70s. This has been a problem for... I can't speak to MLB, right? Because I don't know if it was worse than what it was. Plus, with the farm systems, it kind of equals out. But, because I will admit that some of the MLB rebuilds I have done, I've had dudes that are like 71, 72 overall and go out and hit for, hit 280 and are getting on base over 300 and, having a good OPS and stuff. But then, they have bigger ups and downs, and they're not as consistent, right? Bad teams should feel like bad teams. You should be able to look at a bad team and be like, oh, yeah, they have Jeffrey Simmons. They have L'Jarius Sneed. They have Kevin Zeitler. They have Tony Pollard. But they're still a bad team. Being an 80 overall, being 3-14, are they really a fucking 80 overall? No. I shouldn't be looking at teams going like, I really don't know who to rebuild because everybody has upside. There should be bad teams. I shouldn't be looking at every single team being like, wow, it's kind of hard to pick and choose, right? The Bears are supposed to be on the upswing, supposed to be, as long as they can put it all together. The Bengals are, for the most part, a playoff team if you can fix that defense. Bills, contender. Broncos made the playoffs. Chargers made the playoffs even though they shit the bed. Cardinals, if some of their young guys can develop over the next couple of years, can look really good as long as Kyler Murray can continue to take steps. Bucks, playoff team. Browns, if they can find their quarterback finally, maybe something. They have a decent enough team around it. Chiefs, Colts, if Anthony Richardson, there shouldn't be a world where I'm looking at all these teams and being like, wow, for some reason it feels like none of these teams are in a bad quarterback state. Like, Caleb Williams, still young, still developing. Joe Burrow, awesome. Josh Allen, awesome. Bo Nix, looks pretty good. Justin Herbert, looks pretty good. Cardinals, Kyler Murray. Tampa Bay Bucks, Baker just had his best year. Browns, Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, or Joe Flacco. Who gives a fuck? Patrick Mahomes, Anthony Richardson has upside. It shouldn't honestly feel like picking a team for franchise is super hard. I don't think there's one team, maybe the Saints and the Browns, where you can arguably be like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's not very good, and their quarterback situation shit. Maybe I should pick them. But so many teams are doing the Jets, the Saints. So many people are doing the Saints, the Jets, and the Browns because of their quarterback rooms being like, their quarterback room ain't really that all special. I shouldn't be looking at a team like the Raiders and being like, well, Geno's probably like a 79, 80. No point in picking them. They have it kind of figured out. I don't know. I just think overalls have went up too much in the last couple years. I think it needs to be lowered back down. I think good players, I think superstars and top 5 players at their position should be in the 90s. Top 10 players should maybe be in the 80s, and then, fill out the rest. If you're a bad offensive lineman, you should not be in the 70s. If you're an okay defensive tackle, you should not be in the 80s. I think there has been a massive flaw in overalls. I think it needs to be scaled down a lot. I know older Maddens, I'm not saying a team should be in the 60s. But I don't think almost every team should be in the fucking 80s. That's all I'm saying. These are my problems with Madden so far in the limited time I've played. see if I put more hours into Madden this year. Last year, I barely put more than 20 hours into the game before I was doing my roster edits. I'm going to be honest. Last year's game was just not it. Hopefully this one's better, because I like NFL football more than I like college, but as of right now, college is a lot more playable and a lot more fun, even with its issues in terms of the transfer portal, school grades, stuff like that. Pipelines getting changed for the worse, stuff like that. Position changes, certain archetypes not developing, stuff like that. I can understand some changes and stuff, but right now college football is just a much better game, and it truly is sad as an NFL fan who would rather play Madden. I'm going to be honest, I'd rather play NFL football, but not much we can do. We can only tell them what we dislike and what we like and what changes we want to be made, but when they don't communicate with us and talk to us about why they can't do stuff or what they can do and what they're planning on changing and all this fun stuff, especially in years past where, we have three major changes to franchise coming out, and they fuck up the first one so badly that they don't even get it corrected by the end of the year, and they don't even push out the rest of the updates. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Madden 23. So, I don't know. Just food for thought. As of right now, none of this stuff I think is completely game breaking, but it is annoying. I think a lot of these changes need to be changed. I can understand if certain things aren't allowed to be changed, or this is more of a upper management situation at EA, or even the NFL level, but it does suck that this game, it just still does not feel like an abundance of steps in the right direction. It feels like baby steps, or even the saying of one step forward, two steps back. It always feels like that with Madden. It feels, just being honest. And I don't like being overly negative. I really don't, but it does suck seeing some of this stuff and seeing that this game just isn't making the progress that you would want. I think the game everybody wants to talk about how the game has pretty much been stagnant over the last 10 years. It's been more than stagnant the last 5. I'll be honest. Just not enough changes coming. Weather changes and coach trees and stuff like that are all cool, but when the baseline of your game's dog shit, you're just polishing a turd at that point. So, with that being said, guys, if you guys did enjoy this video or any of the videos here on my channel, would appreciate if you guys do stick around and subscribe. I'll be back with more videos like this, but for now, I'm out. Peace.